I mean, it's controlled by it's controlled by China and ByteDance. Like, if the actual Chinese TikTok Douyin is actually feeding their population way different stuff, like engineers, scientists. Like, these kids over in China, like, the number one career they want to be is like an astronaut. In America, it's a YouTuber.
Yeah, I think the TikTok algorithm is probably fifth generation warfare that China is using
1,000%. China
continually
hates
divide
America.
America and push us towards a collapsed civil war scenario.
If you talk to like mainstream, like regular people behind the firewall in China, they don't fucking like America at all. And they're like totally down for Chinese domination.
Wait, hold on. We're their biggest trading partner. Where do Chinese people send their...
We're kind of losing focus though, because this is a dating podcast. So
I think it's important because it's never just a dating podcast. I noticed this with a lot of this kind of like red pill stuff. Is that like everything?
I didn't cut you off for the record. I wanted to hear your perspective.
No, I didn't see you coming up. Did you?
No.
Just continue with your thought, please.
Yeah, there's like. It's never just about like dating or just about TikTok. It's always got to be part of this grander plan to like I like how we get into this conversation like, well, what about your relationship? Well, I think this is causing the fall of the West. And it's like, holy shit. Like, gee, I didn't know a guy like getting fucked by another dude is like causing like America to lose its position as like the head of the hegemony.
I'm so curious how that works.
It feels like everything is like tied into like these grander global narratives.
Why is gay sex causing damage to society?
Okay, so that's a great question. What I would say is the family is at the bedrock of civilization as a whole. If you have a nation full of healthy families, then you're going to have a healthy nation, right? But there's an attack on the nuclear family. Feminism is a prime example, right? Feminism is something that divides men and women. It causes a lot of tension in households. And as a result of that that's one thing that contributes to broken families. If you have a nation that's full of broken families, you have a nation that's slowly going to fall apart, and we see that happening right now.
Aren't a lot of heterosexual like marriages ending in divorce anyway? So it has nothing to do with gay sex or anything like that.
Yeah. So your question was
framed. There's a lot of family that's already breaking apart for other reasons. So why are you not focusing on those sort of things?
So I'll answer it in the frame of homosexuality. Have you seen like any of the data on population collapse that's projected in the next like 50 years? There's a lot of countries around the world that are not having children at the replacement rate necessary in order to continue maintaining their society. Have you seen any of that data?
I'm very familiar with it, yeah.
Okay, so like, Elon Musk talks about this all the time. If you look at the data on homosexuality, like a few generations ago, it was like less than 2% of people were homosexual. And it was 5%, 10%. Gen Z, they're around like 23% identifying as LGBTQ.
Hold on, whoa. To clarify, if we're going to do geopolitics, the 20% identifying as LGBTQ are predominantly bisexual. It's not people that are actually becoming gay. Number one. Number two, population collapse is not happening because of degeneracy or LGBT stuff.
I would say it's a contributing factor.
That's fine, but you'd be wrong. The reason why it's happening is because when countries develop and people are given the opportunity to explore lives, they're not just saying like, oh, I'm 22, I'm going to have a ton of kids. That's been the big issue. Now, I feel really strongly about this because there arguably is an issue relating to population collapse. Like, we can talk about replacing people or whatever, but like those conversations need to be intelligent and they have to revolve around what's actually happening, which is women getting access to reproductive control, like birth control, and women entering school and the job market. Those are the two massive driving factors. Because the reality is if you put a bright future in front of somebody and you say, do you want to pursue that or do you want to have 4 kids by the time you're 24? Most women are reasonably choosing like, oh, I think I'd rather actually like live my life and do this stuff. I'm pretty sure every single woman at this table has probably made the same choices. All the conservative women that talk about it generally make those same choices, where they'll tell you like, oh, like look at just Pearly things, right? We'll echo all of the, we need to have kids and blah, blah, blah. And she doesn't either, right? I think that the issue is that we've given women access to all of these things and they really enjoy it. And now we need to have a conversation. What are we going to do for our future population? Because blaming gay people isn't going to put that back in the box. I think that's the big issue.
Those are some fair points.
Also,
hold on. Let me please, Aaron, hold on a second. Let me respond to everything that he just said.
Sure.
Okay, go for it.
You raised a number of fair points. The idea that like the most attractive thing to women is going out there, making their career, like living their life, so on and so forth, and that's what like basically all these women want, conservative women included. I would rebut that by saying I've heard from thousands of women that are in their early 20s, conservative especially, and all they want is to have kids, but they're finding it difficult to find a man who actually wants marriage and who also can provide for them. Like, I hear from girls every single day, they're like, I wish so badly I could find a guy who would want to get married and would want to have kids with me, okay? That, like, the idea that all these women would just want to go out there and like live their lives and have their careers and stuff, that's not true.
That's great, but I can't argue against your thousands of women. All I can do is look at stats.
Well, there's also stats showing that women are increasingly
unhappy?
less happy.
Yeah, stats on happiness have been notoriously difficult to track. But if we look at actual behaviors, women are for instance, what we would have said 40 or 50 years ago is women don't really like school and they're not going to sit in math class because women just don't learn like that. They don't enjoy doing that. And what we've seen is when we open schools to women, not only are they doing really well, they potentially outcompete men in schools. They might even be more geared towards like learning in a classroom environment than men who would rather like go outside and play and like be more physical, right? So I think we have to be careful with this assumption that women are built to want to have children and do that a ton, because women are overwhelmingly choosing to go to college and go get jobs and like enter the career field. I think that if we just work on the assumption that, well, they don't really want to do that, we're going to be having the same conversation in 20, 30, 40 years, and people like you're going to be like, well, I don't know what's happening. Is it the woke people pushing women to go to college? Or I don't know, like, well, I've talked to hundreds of women that seem unhappy. Well, if you're really a woman, I mean, this is true. If you're 21, 22, 23, and you're looking to have a family and settle down, you can do it. You're going to find a man that'll want to do it, but you can't live
They can't.
You
They
can,
can't.
but the problem is they want
really
that.
struggle.
They want that, but then they want to live in LA, Miami, New York, Austin.
A lot of them don't.
No, they
But
don't.
This is part of the problem.
I'll give this. If you're a woman and you want to find a husband that will take care of you, just have kids, go to the fucking Midwest. Go to fucking Montana. There's tons of places where you can find men that will do this, but you don't want to do that. You want to live in one of the 10 most expensive cities in the United States.
Okay.
You want to have a fun life. You want to have
That's a fair point.
Yeah, that's the issue. Right?
That's a fair point. But to go back to the original subject, I would say like hookup culture, our current dating culture that is especially incentivizes like the red pill stuff that especially incentivizes men to like increase their value and go and hook up with as many women as they possibly can. Like that's something that's degenerate, that's decreasing the birth rates. To just pass off the whole like LGBTQ rates increasing as a non-factor when it comes to population replacement, I don't think that's fair. Obviously, if you have a quarter of your population that's not interested in heterosexual monogamous relationships.
It's not a quarter. Those are mainly bisexual, and a lot of them are women.
even bisexual, like the people that are being conditioned by our culture to be interested in that, like that's obviously going to have a negative effect on birth rates. So it does play into it.
It doesn't. I promise you. If
How could you say it doesn't,
because if you
bro?
Google every
Come
single
on.
industrialized country on Earth, as they become industrialized, women have less children.
I think
It's true. Every single industrialized country.
He's
on the planet.
1,000% right. The more a country trends towards being more industrialized, the birth rate does drop.
Yes, and that data
Like
is
to
clear.
below
But the
1.8.
original question was, how does homosexuality contribute to decreasing
But I don't
birth
think like
rates and
homosexuality is an
degeneracy?
issue in like
Well,
South
I don't-
Korea or
it
Japan,
has
and they
to
have like
do
some
with
of the
that.
lowest birth
Well, I
rates in the
think it-
world.
I
Also,
think-
being homosexual doesn't actually preclude you from fathering any children.
Well, but
Here,
yeah,
let's.
but
But it's not on the
let's-
top of the to-do
Well,
list. Let's
okay,
be
I'm
honest.
still
What?
physiologically
It's not on the top of the
capable
to-do list for
doing
gay guys.
that.
Gay guys aren't like trying to fucking
I
start a
think
family.
that
Yeah.
women not.
Hold on,
I mean,
hold on. Let's move away from this topic because it's probably a little.
TOS.
It's probably a little fucking TOS.
Wait, is it
Probably. I mean,
population stuff?
I mean, talking about.
I doubt it. I
gay
doubt it.
stuff.
I doubt it's TOS. If you want to change the subject, you can.
Yeah,
but
I do
don't
need
think
to.
it's
I do need
TOS.
to announce a couple things here. So
I feel like you should give her, because she wanted to talk for a long time and we cut her off a lot. You should give her at
Yeah,
least
I
a
was
last
just
word.
gonna say I think partially the reason why women are so unhappy and not finding people is because of the very recent embrace of promiscuity. How they're putting themselves out there as like, I don't want to say whores because that's a bit draconian, but you know, the hookup culture has really destroyed everyone, both sides, men and women.
Yeah, 100%.
Yep.